In this lesson, we will evaluate logarithmic expressions. Of course, it's preferable, if we're able to evaluate without the use of a calculator. So these first couple of questions that I'm going to do with you, we will not need a calculator. What you will want to do, however, is pretend that it's equal to x, essentially, and then write it as an exponential. So I'm saying 12 to the x equals 144. So 12 to what power equals 144? That would obviously be 12 squared. So it's equal to 2. So you don't need the x in there anymore. So log base 12 of 144 equals 2. So 12 to what power is 144? Same thing here. 125 to what power equals 5? So 125 to what power equals 5? Obviously, I'm going from a larger number to a smaller number, which means not a negative value, but a fraction. So I'm saying if I took the cubed root of 125, I would get 5. So x would have to be 1/3. So the top number, remember, is that exponent and the bottom is the index. So I'm taking the cube root of 125 to get 5. Next, 1/2 to what power equals 8? So again, this one is now going to be flipped because I know that this is a fraction. If I take it to the second power, that's 1/4, and the third power, that's 1/8. I need it to be 8, not 1/8. So instead of taking it to the third power, I'm going to take that to the negative third. The negative would flip it, which would of course make it 2 to what power equals 8, and then of course that would be 2 to the third equals 8. So that's where we get the negative from, is because we're going from a fraction to a whole number. And then my last one, I have 4 to what power equals 1/2. Again, here I'm going to use a negative again because I'm going from 4 to 1/2. And so I would say not only is it the square root of 4, and the square root gives me that fraction, so the square root of 4 would give me 2, but I want it to be 1/2. And so I'm going to say that that is negative 1/2. So the negative, which flips it, and the 2, which takes the square root. There are two special types of logs that you need to understand. They're logs that have a specific base. The first is called a common log. And a common log occurs when we don't see a base. And in that case, the base of 10 is implied. So if you see log of 1,000, that means log base 10. So again, I would say 10 to what power equals 1,000. The log button on your calculator is generally a log base 10, unless you have a fancy calculator where you can actually put in what the base of your log is. Most of the time, you're going to just be able to find the log base 10 of a number. So again, 10 to what power equals 1,000? That would, of course, be 3. So 10 to the third equals 1,000. This one would be 10 to what power equals 0.01. Well, we know that 0.01 is the same as 1/100th because it's 10th hundredth. So when finding this, again, the negative would flip it upside down. So I'm saying 10 to what power would be 100? That would be 10 to the second, except it's 1/100th, so it's negative 2. Down here, we have a natural log. So a natural log would be like log base e. And instead of writing log base e, we write it as ln, which is, of course, the natural logarithmic function. The base is e. When we are evaluating the logarithmic expression, and again, this should be a button on your calculator, but the natural log has a base of e, and the base of e and the e essentially sort of cancel out. And we'll get more into that in the next lesson when we talk about some of the properties. But this solution would be x. And here, if I had the natural log of e to the third, again, those base and that function will cancel, and I just get 3. Again, you're welcome to actually plug that into your calculator to find that out. Find out what e to the third is, and then take the natural log of that, and you should end up back at 3. When we are unable to find the solution or to simplify a logarithmic expression without our calculator, then of course we have to use our calculator. And so one way to do that, of course, is, and we can only use, until I teach you the change of base formula, we can only use the log base 10 or the natural log function to do that. So we're just going to essentially plug that into our calculator, and then you can always check it, and I'm not going to do the check, but you're welcome to do that, is to take your solution, take the base, so 10 to that power should give me 23 again. But in my calculator, log of 34, if you have a one-line calculator, you put 34 and then click log. And if I were rounding to the nearest 10,000th, it would be about 1.5315. Again, if I were checking it, I would take 10 to that power, and the more decimals I use, the more exact it would be. But I should get really, really close to 34 when I do that. So I'll let you do that check on your own. Natural log, again, it's just a button in your calculator. So enter 0.45 and then click the natural log button, unless you have a nicer calculator, in which case you can enter it just like that. And again, the natural log gave me negative 0.7985. I can always check it, but I'm not going to do that. Here are 4 for you to try. Try as many as you can without your calculator. If you're not able to find it without your calculator, then get your calculator out. Then press play to check your work. For the first, I have log base 4 of 64. So this one I should be able to write as 4 to the x equals 64, because I'm trying to find that value. So 4 to the third power would be 64. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 again is 64. So that would be a 3. This one I'm going to have to use my calculator, so I'll come back to that one. This one I have natural log of e, which is base e, and then of e to the 5th. So we talked before about how those would cancel and just give me 5. Again, use your calculator if you want to actually find e to the 5th, and then take the natural log of that. This one, I've got 8 to what power equals 1/2. So if I were trying to get from 8 to 2, I would have to take the cubed root, which means 3, but, or sorry, 1/3. But since I need to get from 8 not to 2 but to 1/2, that's going to give me the negative out front. Okay, so if I do the 1/3, that's 2 to what power equals 1/2, that would be to the negative 1. So this one would give me the 1/3, because it would take the cubed root, and this would give me the negative 1, so negative 1/3. So I'm going to use my calculator to double check this one, and then of course I'm going to find the natural log of 22. So again, I used my calculator. I found the natural log of 22 was about 3.0910. I did double check this one. I found e to the 5th, and then I took the natural log of that, and again I ended up back at 5.